J.R. Blount today?
Yeah, no, really excited about where we're headed. As I spoke to outside, I think it's really important that we're being strategic about not only this hire, but how we've resourced the program and ensuring that we're putting ourselves in that top tier of the WCC in terms of resources and infrastructure. And I feel really confident. We have incredible facilities. Now we've been able to resource on the other side in some ways, and even around the student athletes too, just some of the folks that we're putting around them. And looking at what is happening within the conference and in the country as a whole, we knew this day was coming where Gonzaga and Oregon State and Washington State were leaving. We knew there could always be any kind of coaching changes at different institutions as we've seen. So we feel like everything's aligning and the stars are looking great.
Why is USD positioned in a better place than, say, a Loyola Marymount or Santa Clara or another school to take over WCC dominance?
Yeah, no disrespect to anyone else, but I mean, I look around this campus, look at this place. I think you can actually attract talent, and then, I love that JR talked about global talent and attract people to this institution, yes, for the basketball and being competitive and winning, because we're not going to shy away from that, but also for the network that you get at this institution and what this will provide for them for the next 40, 50 years of their life. So I feel like the alignment and of everything we've just talked about, but once you get someone on campus and they now get to see what we're all seeing, it's just different. It just really is. Again, no disrespect to any other institutions, but we've put ourselves in a position from an infrastructure standpoint where I feel like we're at the top of the league.
You mentioned the interest in the job. Obviously, probably some West Coast names, some names that have been head coaches before. Why go with someone with no connection to San Diego that a lot of people haven't heard about here?
Yeah, great question. I think as we went into this, we were open. We wanted to look at who could be the most successful here. And I think as we went through it, there was not a focus on sitting head coaches or current assistants by any means. I think really we really threw out a big net. And I talked to probably 30 plus people in the first week when this job became open. And JR from day one just really stood out for his humility, his integrity. And I think you saw up there who he is as a person, first and foremost. And to me, someone who hasn't been a head coach, that really doesn't matter to me as much, honestly. I think there's a vulnerability about not being a head coach before in terms of understanding I'm going to make mistakes, but I'm going to get back up and go, and I'm going to learn from them. So that really wasn't a factor for me. Nothing I'm afraid of whatsoever. I think in my past at this institution, others I've hired others who haven't been head coaches have been very successful. So.
One more from me.
Yeah.
You might have to wait a couple of weeks if Iowa State keeps winning. Yeah. Can that be a benefit to the program if they go on to the Final Four and maybe win the whole thing?
100%. I think, again, back to strategy. When we hired JR, before it even became public, we realized that this is a really good team that he's with. And not only can we learn from what they're doing and what he might bring here, but from an external standpoint, we can take advantage of this a little bit. And we have, and credit to our external team, for actually allowing us to do some things to really, again, market our program as a whole. And JR, yes, but also talk a little bit about our history, talk about our NBA path, talk about the things with our infrastructure that we built around it. So I think these 2 weeks and now maybe 3 to 4, depending on where they end up, are great because they're giving us some really good content and some good marketability for our program that maybe we wouldn't have had. And how fun is it to watch another team where your new head coach is coming from, and they got a really good shot to make the Final Four. That's really fun too. So we've all become some Cyclone fans along the way.
Coach, how does that look? Like he's there, and then whenever their run is, or maybe they win the national championship, then maybe possibly he brings a couple kids over, or maybe they follow him to come through.
Yeah, that's just the way the world works now.
Yeah.
It's the transfer portal's a real thing, and ultimately I always trust my head coaches to determine who's on the roster, whether they're retaining the roster. Or they're going out and getting individuals from the portal. JR's already working on that. We've talked every day, multiple times, as you imagine, and he's already working through the current roster, but also who are the pieces that we need to be competitive in this particular league, but also be able to play some high-level competition and, frankly, get into the NCAA tournament and then be competitive. As we're watching this March Madness and you're seeing the challenge as a mid-major to get to that next level, it's, okay, how do we align our roster in a way that does that? And ultimately, he's going to have great connections, and his coaching network and coaching tree is really, really strong. And believe it or not, they actually help each other. So they might have an individual who maybe it's not working out at that institution, but hey, he'd be a great fit for you, JR. Let me get him on board with you, and let's see if it works out. So those things are already happening in terms of just conversations. Obviously, the portal doesn't open for a while, so nothing official there. But you got to focus on your main roster first, your own roster.
So if we randomly see someone from Ames, Iowa on the roster, make sure we know what's going on.
Relationships, we talked about relationships. Obviously there's some rules in place until the portal opens on contact, but relationships are really critical. And then students in high school build relationships with coaches. All of our coaches throw a wide net for high school athletes, knowing they're not going to get those high school athletes here all the time. But the way the portal works with the percentages of athletes who transfer, that athlete may come back. And now they've seen the campus, they understand the facilities, they see the infrastructure, they see San Diego and all it has to offer. And now you have someone who says, oh, I didn't go there initially, but this might be a great spot for me to fit into what the new coach wants to do. Absolutely.
I get the feeling a little bit that you feel like this might be a transformational hire. Like you talked a little bit about student involvement, getting students to the game, winning on a consistent level. There's an opening in the WCC. Is it too much to say that you're looking at this as a potential hire that could really take USD sports to a level it hasn't been in the past few years?
I think transformational is a good word. I said to President Harris, as we started the search, I said, Jim, this might be the most important hire we've ever made in this athletic program, because we are at a critical moment in time with the industry changing and the things that we need to do to be successful. But we've invested and we've been strategic about it over the past several years to put ourselves in this position to really take off when we have that opportunity. And I spoke about it up there a little bit. This is really important for our campus and our community. I remember when I got here about 2 years ago, everyone told me, students go to the games and, it's going to be tough to get faculty. And I said, it might be initially. It's not going to happen overnight. But I firmly believe we can get there to where this place can become a home court advantage. I really believe that. And I've seen what's happened at multiple institutions that I've worked at or other places. And you get some winning going, and you have a coach like JR who has a personality like he is, and he's going to be visible, he's going to be out on campus, he's going to be in the community. You get people to buy in, or they're intrigued to say, hey, I'm going to go take a look at that. I like the way this team plays. They're winning some games. I can get behind these kind of guys because they're out in the community doing great things. And the next thing you know, you start rolling downhill. So I do feel this is a transformational moment, not just for men's basketball, but our department and our campus, because it does bring some visibility to this campus and all the incredible things that have been happening for years.
Coach, how tough of a decision was this for you? New city, new town, new opportunity, something fresh.
I wouldn't say it was tough. I mean, you look outside and this is beautiful. But, talking to Kimya and President Harris, it was a pretty easy decision, honestly, that our values and beliefs aligned. And this is a unique opportunity to come here and be in the WCC. And, just with some of the transition and changes that are going on, we're looking forward to raising the bar here at USD and making it something that can be very great and competitive.
You talked about dreaming about this day. You got emotional out there. There's not that many Division I head coaching jobs. What did it mean to you, your journey to get here?
It's so hard to get a Division I coaching job and then get one that you align with and you have the values that align with you, that it's almost unheard of. So, it is a very emotional thing, and all the mentors and coaches and players that have helped me and molded me to this day, it becomes very, it's an emotional deal, but it's something that I'm really looking forward to embracing, and very excited to get on this journey with.
How chaotic is this week for you with the NCAA tournament, going to the Sweet 16 with a game on Friday?
It's been fun. I wouldn't have it any other way. We won on Sunday, came on Monday, presented the film to the team, got on the plane. We were off today, so it actually worked out very well. I'll get back. I won't miss any practices, and then we'll try to take on Tennessee.
You look at the West Coast Conference and the different moves that are happening and coaches leaving and all of that. Where's USD positioned here in the WCC?
Yeah, I think we're positioned greatly. I think we're positioned in a stance to get ready to raise the basketball bar here at USD. And for us, I think obviously the transition is happening, but it's something we embrace. I think it's something that kind of gives everybody a clean slate. Obviously, Gonzaga is a traditional powerhouse, and you losing Oregon State and Washington State, and then adding some new members, but. We're in a position where we feel like we're ready to compete from day one, and it'll be our daily habits and things that we can do to continue to establish our standards and then our culture.
Right, and St. Mary's loses a coach yesterday. Yeah.
Outstanding coach. Obviously Coach Bennett it's unheard of what he's done, but again, I think it aligns with us. So we want to make sure we focus on USD and focus on how we can continue to raise our basketball bar and continue to and just focus on our daily habits and how we can get better.
How close are you to naming a staff and bringing some guys with you?
Yeah, pretty close. I think once it'll become public here in the next hopefully week or so. But we have some guys that are ready to join the board, and some guys that I really trust and align with our vision and our communication skills. And I think it's something that we'll be ready to hit the ground running soon.
JR, what's the easiest way to kind of start the grind on the recruiting? Jump in the portal, the JUCO cats, or we got a bunch of ballers here in San Diego. What's probably the easiest way to kind of jump in as a first-year head coach?
Yeah, I think all of that. You hit it all right on the head. I think first and foremost, we want to make sure that the guys that are here, we talk to them and make sure individually and collectively that's the best thing for the program. Talking to those guys, and I've had a few opportunities to do that so far. And then, it's a mix. It'll be the portal. It'll be the guys in Southern California and California. You look at this area and it's produced a lot of basketball talent. So you don't have to go very far to find it. Just got to make sure we find the right ones. But we'll have accumulation of all that. I think it's going to be, hey, obviously the portal is important, but got to make sure we bring in high character student athletes. That's first and foremost. The character that we bring in is even more important than the talent. So when we get our staff here and we're able to sit down and kind of just get everything organized, we'll bring in high character student athletes from a lot of different realms.
Go ahead. San Diego's always had the weather, the JCP, now the Wellness Center. When you looked at this job, why don't you think they've had success and what needs to change?
I think that's something that, comes with the personnel that they've had and some of the coaching staffs, but I don't think that that's a discredit to anybody. I think when you get in here, you have to build your own program and you have to have great daily habits. And you'll continue to hear me say that because I think that's one of the most important things. We will be relentlessly consistent in everything that we do, and then that'll affect our outcomes and our results. So, again, I'm not sure what's happening with other programs in the past, but there also have been, the 2008 team, the NIT team. There's a tradition that's there. We just have to replicate it with consistency.
JR's first style of play on the court. Grind it out, playing fast. Trail fans, what are they going to see on the court?
Yeah, I think everyone comes in and is like, yeah, we're going to play really fast and everything. And I'll be honest, we're going to start with defense. We're going to start with what we call dictating and disrupting the offense. And that'll be the most important thing. And I honestly think that's the easiest way to play fast because if we turn teams over and go the other way, you can play in transition effortlessly. But we're going to create advantages on offense. We want to play with simplicity, so guys are allowed to play with freedom. But defensively, it's going to look like football. We're going to be out there, we're going to tackle guys, and we're going to make it hard. And, I think there'll be something that's a little bit different that has been seen in the West Coast Conference, but it's going to be something that our guys embrace. And we recruit that way, and we'll bring in guys that are ready to embrace that.
Sounds a little like a school that's not that far away from here, right?
And they've done a good job with it.
And with this building, the Wellness Center, how big of an advantage is that now that they have it here?
It's amazing. I think it's amazing. It's a recruiting advantage. It's an advantage for the guys on campus, but it just allows for so much. Development is a big part of every program and will be a major part of this program, and it allows for that. It allows for extra access, extra visibility for our guys, for recruits. So 100% just a major factor in getting great guys in here and building a strong program.
Anything else for JR?
How much difficulty did you have asking the girls in your family to make this move?
My middle daughter just said, can we get a pool? I said, yep, we can do that. And she was like, yeah, I'm ready to go. So, but it was good. We've actually been here and vacationed here, so it's a beautiful community. And, it wasn't a difficult decision. I love Ames and love the Midwest, but you look out here right now, and last week we had a blizzard. So it's not something that will be a very hard task to get here.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.